So, evening, guys. I hope you're all right. Say hi, Miles. Hi. So this is the video that you voted for. You wanted to know more. It intrigued you over the other titles, did it? Police raided their own brothel. So, as you know, Sheffield's sort of full of them, and they're all sort of rammed on one road, more or less. I'm called Attercliffe Road, and I'm going to make a video on that and a little bit of history, But today we're going to be talking about a sauna that was on there once before it got closed down, called Amiga, and then it went on to be called Box Office. So, let's go. So we'll start with a little bit of history. With regards to the exact date of this opening, not too sure. The thumbnail that I've put up, what you see when you click on the video, is the pictures from 1983. So, you know, it's long, you know, it was a long time standing sort of parlour. It was like part of history, more or less, in Sheffield. Everybody knew it. It was sort of always known 24 hours. You know, it had facilities like steam room, sauna, Turkish sauna, Turkish steam room, sorry. You know, you could buy cigarettes from there. They had a video lounge in there that played hardcore porn, where even when it was illegal in the UK to play it, they still sort of showed it in the Amiga. Now, before we get to sort of the raid of it and the closure of it, I just found another little bit of history, and it's about a man who died in there. And the newspaper article, I'll give you in brief, he was scalded to death after he fell asleep in the sauna. In Sheffield's Amiga, and this Amiga was dubbed the ultimate pleasure centre. That's sort of like what it was sort of known as. Now, Douglas Green, who was only 39, he'd been drinking that night, and really should have only spent a maximum of up to 15 minutes in a sauna when you've been drinking. And most places, including the Amiga, did have you know, a warning sign saying this. Only he wasn't found by staff for 2 hours. So there was an inquest, obviously, and it was done by a Dr. John Clark, and he was a consultant pathologist, if I'm saying it right. And he said that his body had been subjected to a considerable, you know, amount of heat. His skin showed evidence of blistering. His alcohol levels were 158 milligrams per 100 millilitres of blood, which apparently that isn't excessive, but it is nearly double the driving limit. It felt that he died from a direct effect of too much heat on him as a result of the sauna, being in the sauna too long. He said at the inquest it was likely that he fell asleep and he didn't realise that it was getting too hot, and the body can sort of get really, really hot and overheat very, very quickly, and sort of it can just spiral out of control, basically. Now, the night supervisor at the Amiga, called Richard, he said that Mr. Green arrived at 11:10 in the evening on Friday the 5th of November. He paid his £10 door fee like everybody else, and at 1:45 Richard was told that there was a problem, and he found Mr. Green laid on one of the benches in the sauna with no sign of a pulse, no sign of life. And it just goes on to say that Mr. Green was a much loved regular at the Amiga. He'd often arrive at the sauna after he'd been to the pub. He was known as Jesus. It was Jesus due to his long hair and beard. Apparently, he never really used the services of the girls, but he would sort of watch films, and you know, he'd been coming to the Amiga for several years. Even the owner of the sauna goes on to say, you know, you know, he said that Mr. Green sometimes stayed more or less all night. We were all gutted when, you know, all the workers sort of knew him. You know, we were all a bit gutted. He did his own thing. He didn't bother anybody. You know, like I say, just watched videos. The police go on to say that they did watch CCTV, and Mr. Green sort of walking towards the locker room. He didn't appear to be, you know, worse for wear, really, due to his drinking. He went into the sauna after he arrived about 11:30, and stays staff was alerted, at 1:45 a.m. and it was an accidental death. So that's one of the antics that sort of went on in there. Now, because it was the Amiga first, and then it went on to box office. So now the owner of the Amiga, he bought it. He won the lottery. He was lucky enough to win the lottery. And he must have felt like he'd won the bloody lottery every bleeding day. You know, with how much money this used to take on a daily basis. But you know, there were anything from like say 7 to 15 girls sometimes, all paying a shift fee of £150, and then everything you earned after that. That's how it worked there. So you paid £150 on a shift. And then anything you earned after that was sort of your own. So, I mean, you do the maths, you know. A lot of girls walk through them doors as you know, probably millions of customers as well. You know, you'd walk in there with just a bloody taxi fare some nights. And you'd walk out with thousands. It really was a sauna, you know, sauna to work in. It didn't always sort of have a reputation of foreign girls. It didn't start off that way, but unfortunately it did end up that way. And unfortunately they was sort of doing, the police were sort of doing a crackdown and raids on, you know, trafficking, foreign nationals, you know, like I say, being trafficked or just here illegally, that sort of thing. And the Amiga was part of a big international, a large sort of big massive raid basically. That they put together, and it took a long time to put all these, you know, these places together. And it was part of, you know, hundreds of parlours up and down the country. But sort of, obviously, with this sort of being in my town, I thought, you know, I'll make a story of it. When they finally had done the raid, an arrest had been made, and they'd all been booked in. In a total, there was 11 men and 47 women. 9 of the men were released and bailed later that day. Another male had got arrested at his home, and he also got bail. And 13 of the women were detained in Sheffield. And I think that was more to do with the illegal immigrants. I think they was illegal immigrants. Originally, the owner was facing a charge of living off immoral earnings. Only in the end, the charge went down to a lot lesser charge, and that was just controlling prostitutes. The reason this changed was, and the reason it was dropped down, was in Crown Court. The judge said that the reason he's sort of dismissing the living off of moral earnings one and doing it to, you know, facing a lesser charge of controlling prostitutes was due to the fact that South Yorkshire police had known what was happening and had known what was happening for years, and they were quite happy to let it go on as long as nothing else sort of went on there illegal. But that's still not the punchline yet, guys. So he was charged with the lesser charge, and given the fact that they had actually found 6 floor safes in his house with a total of 300,000 in cash, they obviously seized it. And they also seized the building under the proceeds of crime act. Now, being a dodgy bugger he is, after a while, well, a few weeks, he leased the building to a woman, okay? And she reopened it and changed its name, and she changed it to Box Office. Only instead of sort of keeping the heat down, you know, and just running it as a nice sauna with, you know, with English girls, no drugs knowingly anyway on the premises, you know, we can't stop some people getting bring them in, can we? But no, it was raided again. Only this time they found drugs, and they either found underage girls or illegal immigrants. It doesn't actually say, and I can't actually remember. Now, given the fact that the police had now raided their own brothel, haven't they, guys? Because the building is and was seized by the assets, the seizure unit, from when they took it off the first owner, so they was unable to charge them. Okay. So why aren't they being charged with the moral earnings? And police are taxed Or taxpayers funded, aren't they? So if they own it, the taxpayers should own this brothel as well. But all jokes aside, how thick are they? They're so thick, aren't they? So that's the story of how the police raided their own brothel, guys. So say night night, night night, and we'll be back soon. Bye, guys.